Good evening, Bruchim Habayim Rabotai. Welcome to another edition of our Thursday night's class. Tonight's class was sponsored Leilui Nishmat Rabbi Meir ben Rabbi Yekutiel v'Jihar. That I think tonight is his 11th month Askara. Tehei nafshot tzura b'tzorach chaim began Eden Elyon with all the tzaddikim and chasidim. Amen ve'amen. I want to start tonight with a story, because I love stories. This is not from me. I read this story in a pamphlet called Kol Berama that's put out in Ramat El Hanan in Bnei Brak, officially once a month. But I'll give you the details based on the way that it's brought down over there. The rabbi of Ramat El Hanan is Rav Yitzchak Zilberstein. Everybody knows him in one way or the other. Aleinu l'shabeach, Tuv Chayabiu, Bar Chinafshi, and a long collection of Sfarim that are translated to English that people use. So, in his shul, there's a member who's known to be a prestigious Talmid Chacham, whose name is Rabbi Eliezer Roth. Sometimes, Rav Zilberstein doesn't speak himself, even though normally he would speak himself. He gives Talmidei Chachamim in his synagogue to speak instead of him. And one of those weeks, he gave this rabbi, Rabbi Eliezer Roth, to speak. And Rabbi Eliezer Roth's speech was just saying over a story. Now, I'm not sure if the story happened with him, or he was saying a story that he heard that happened with somebody else. It's very unclear in Kol Berama which way it is. It kind of sounds like it happened with him, but one way or the other. He definitely said it over. That's either way. And this is what he said. He said that there was a guy who, b'shat tova u'mutzlachat, his daughter got engaged. No, it's a big simcha, but for some people it's a simcha that comes with a lot of worry. We should never need to know. Because he was still a Kollel student, and Kollel students don't get paid doctor salaries. Not even according to the new Medicaid reimbursement laws. In Israel, a Kollel student in the best case scenario gets 2,000 shekel a month. That's like $500 something a month. That's called a well-paying Kollel. The average one is more like $300 a month. On $300 a month, you can't really marry off a child, because that's not even enough to pay your electric. No. He didn't know what to do. He went to his friends to consult with them if anybody has an eitzah, because they're all in the same situation. And the conclusion of the discussion was that he should he should fly to America, and he should try and raise money. In America, there's a lot of religious Jews that are very generous and love helping people, and maybe they'll help him out. He was never in America before, but no choice. He gets a visa, makes an arrangement, whatever, and he plans a 2-week trip to come to the United States of America. Now, there are those that come to the U.S. and are mastermind fundraisers. We see all these charity campaigns, match this, raise millions of dollars in a day. Unfortunately, the ones who need it most don't know how to do those things, and they don't have the means and the connections to do those things. So they always fall between the cracks. He came to America without any plan, was never here before, doesn't speak the language much, or at all, and didn't know what to do. Had a place to stay, and the person he was staying by told him that, you knock on doors, you see a mezuzah, you knock on the door, you tell them what's going on, and people will help. The knocking on door system is not so efficient. It goes anywhere from 25 cents to the best case scenario, $18, and even that's very generous. In all my years, there was only once that somebody told me a story that blew my mind away that wasn't one of those situations. This was an Israeli rabbi. His name is Rabbi El-Karif. He's a Rosh Kollel in Eretz Yisrael also. He has a kollel, I think, in Elad. They used to be, and now they either moved or are moving to Yerushalayim now. So he once, on his first trip to America, he didn't come for his kollel. He didn't have a kollel yet. The only reason why he has a kollel is because he made a promise. He had a child that was very sick, and he made a promise if his child gets better, he's going to open a kollel. And Baruch Hashem, the child's better. He came to America because of his medical bills and whatever, so he came to raise money. Shalom Neda, we should never need to know what these things mean. And Rav El-Karif told me, this is mind-boggling. He said he went also, the same problem, knocking on doors, and he was getting $1, $5, $2, a quarter, or this. like this, you don't even make enough money to cover the amount of money it costs for your bed to stay at night. Forget about the ticket. He has a sick kid. It's not a joke. And like this, it went one place to the next. And Rav Yaakov told me, this doesn't say in Kol Bama, there's a sidetrack story, that he knocked on a certain person's door. He said it was the second to last day he was in America. And he was expecting another $5, but whatever. How did he say? Puta leputa mitztarefet. At that point, he had already covered all his expenses, and he figured, at least let me go back with $500. It's also something. That's not what he came for, obviously, but that was his positive way of looking at things. And the guy opens the door, and he tells him his story shortly, whatever. And he's expecting, again, the dollar handout. And the gentleman says, you're talking about a sick child? That's not a joke. Come inside. We have to discuss this. So he tells him, what's to discuss? He says, I happen to be a doctor who specializes exactly in the field that you're talking about. So maybe I could give you medical advice. He said, if not a big donation, medical advice I definitely can give you. I can be involved in your case. And Israeli doctors respect American doctors, so it'll help you. If you want, I'm not pushing it on you. This is my name. You could make a phone call if you need to check where I am. You're welcome in. He said he had nothing to lose. He went in. And he had with him the whole medical file because, he thought that some people are going to ask to see that it's a valid story and whatever. So he shows it to him, and this doctor starts reading through. And the next miracle is that the doctor understands Hebrew and can read Hebrew. What's the odds of that? That he hit a doctor that has a specialty in the field that his child's not well with, and also understands the medical documents because he knows how to read the Hebrew. It's wild. Guy goes through the whole thing, and he tells him, listen, this might be a lucky day. He says, one of the people that's signed off on your child's case is a doctor that interned with me in the United States 14 years ago. I don't know if he'll remember me or not, but let's try and get a hold of him. They were in, I think it's Kaplan Hospital or something, the kid was. I make some phone calls to get a hold of this doctor, and he remembered it. And he tells him, listen, I'm sitting with a rabbi in my dining room. Number one, I want to be involved and I want to help and whatever, and he's willing to tell you on the phone that he authorizes a sign or whatever needs to be done. But number two, what is this? You guys are holding up treatments for money and things are taking slow because of, that's crazy. We're playing with a kid's life. And the doctor justified himself in whatever way, he has his reasons. And he tells him like this. He says, you do what you got to do. You expedite everything. I ask you for one thing, that everything you do before you do it, you run it by me first so I can consult with my colleagues as well and make sure that there's no mistakes. And I'm signing guarantor on any bills that rack up. I'm the guarantee. You're getting paid. Don't worry about it. And this rabbi told me when he told me the story, he said he felt uncomfortable. He told them, listen, they're saying it's going to be a couple 100,000 shekel. It might even be more. You want to be? I don't have 5 cents to my name. You want to be stuck with people coming after you for $250,000? What do you need this for? And he says, it's my mitzvah. If Hashem sent you, it is what it is. Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine. He left the house. He was blown away. He didn't want to even continue raising money at that point. The day that he had left, he went to Landau's, whatever. It's a shtibel place. He davened. He learned a little bit. Over there, people gave him a few dollars. And over there in the shul in Landau's, he made a neder that if his child gets better, he's opening a kollel. Why? He said, because if Hashem sent me to exile to raise funds, that must mean that I have to go to exile. So I'd rather go to exile to raise funds for a kollel than to raise funds for a sick child. It's just a better deal. So I'm going to open a kollel, I'll have to go raise funds, and my child should be better. A long list of miracles happened with this child. But the summary of everything was this doctor was extremely influential, caught a few mistakes along the way as well, prevented disasters, and was heavily, heavily involved. But he didn't only do it himself, he got a few of his associates in the US to be involved in saving this kid's life. At the end of the kid was already home and much, much better, like he was on the road to full recovery, and the bills come. And it wasn't as bad as they thought, but it was still a lot of money. It's about $60,000, the doctor told me. The Rav Yaakov told me. He didn't know what to do. He was embarrassed, but at the end of the day, he sent it to the doctor. He said, listen, I just want you to know what you're a guarantor on. So you tell me how you want me to go about it. You want me to come to America again and try to raise money again? I'll do it. I'll do whatever I got to do. I don't want it to fall on you. You're already an angel providing all these free services. He says, nah, it's better than it was. Let me handle it. He says, just sign an authorization in the hospital that they can deal with me directly on the financial matters as well, and I'm going to deal with it. The doctor, Rav Yaakov told me this, I didn't speak to the doctor, had an amazing story. He assumes the responsibility on this to help a Jew who was a stranger to him. Like at that point they were friends already, but originally was a total stranger to him. And he says, I'm comfortable with him. I can't just give 60,000 in 1 minute without thinking about it. So his plan was to call the hospital and make a payment plan with them that he's going to pay $5,000 a month over a year. And without interest and that, and settle the debt. Or maybe negotiate a little less, whatever it is. And he calls an acquaintance of his, who's an Israeli guy who lives in the US, he lives in South Jersey, who, when he was in Israel, worked in the collections department of a private equity company. And he called him first, before he called the hospital, to get the inside scoop on how does it work in Israel with settling debts. Like, can you tell me, can I get away with 10 cents on a dollar, 20 cents, what can I do? Is there any tricks in it? Anything that you could do? Now in Israel, they don't do that. They have something called Hotzah La'Po'al. They'll come to somebody's house and take his paintings off the wall, take his chairs, his dining room, his furniture. Literally, it's not an exaggeration. There's no limits over there. Literally no limits. There's no settlements. And every Israeli gets Bituach Leumi every month. They get a seizure on that money. They know they're getting their money sooner or later with enough intimidation. So they have there's no end. And the guy wasn't encouraging it all. Tells him you could try, because who you are, they might maybe round it off by 5 or 10% less, but and even a payment plan, there's no way they're going to give it to you without interest. It was very discouraging. And then he tells him, but you know what? I think I got a guy who might know more than me. He's more updated. I'm out of Israel for a lot of years. I think I have a guy who maybe he's more updated. Let's make a conference. What do we have to lose? They call up this other guy who also worked in one of these companies. He actually owned the collections company. And again, the whole story, the doctor explains what's going on, and he says, I'm not asking you for anything, I'm just asking for advice. What's the right way to approach it? This is my mitzvah, I want to pay for it. And the guy says, it was your mitzvah, you meant to say. So he said, what do you mean? He said, let me tell you what I mean. He said, I wasn't religious at all. Recently I started becoming a little bit observant. He says, I try not to drive on Shabbat, my wife lights candles, not even the basics, but something. He says, in this year of Shana Kippur, I went to synagogue. And I was exposed to learning for the first time, and I started going to learn. So I don't learn much, once a week, 15 minutes, but I have a guy, 15 minutes a week, he devotes to me and he teaches me a little bit. He says, a few nights ago, we learned in the Pasuk, the great sin in oppressing a Jew who owes you money to pay his debt when he doesn't have how to pay it. And I thought to myself, for years, I've been running collection companies that all we did was destroy people's lives to get money. He says, and I left the learning, and I was so turned off. I said, so I'm hopeless anyway, so what's going to help me to get closer to religion? He says, I violated such a bad law that the Bible clearly says that God's going to come after a person like that, and he's not going to have it pleasant in life. He said, and then I made myself a promise that the next time I hear a Jew's in debt and it needs to be paid, I'm going to pay his debt off no matter what the number is. So 60,000 is pretty cheap for me to calm my guilt. Let me take care of it. And he paid the bill. The network of tzaddikim and balei tzedakah and the network of hashgacha pratita you have to have. One little detail in the story wouldn't fit perfectly, nothing would happen. It's one detail. Another detail, if you don't see Hashem in that, you got to be totally off. Something got to be wrong with you. How many details? That's by the way. But back to our real story. Rabbi Zerot says that they came, it was either him or somebody else that came to America, and before he came to America, it was the first time coming to America. So he decided to get a blessing from Maran Rav Shteinman Zecher Tzadik Livracha Zchuto Yagen Aleinu. He goes to Rav Shteinman to get a blessing that he should succeed in his mission. Rav Shteinman tells him he's going to give him 2 things that he wants him to take upon himself, and if he'll take it upon himself, he'll succeed. He said, sure, what do you want? He says, one, I want you to take upon yourself that there'll never be a day that you miss the daf yomi while you're in America. Because even though you're going to collect money and this and that, learning, you have to learn every day no matter what. You can never miss the learning. Number two, I want you to take upon yourself that no matter how much money a person gives you, whether it's a quarter, or $1, or $1 million, it doesn't make a difference what the number is, he's going to get the same smile, the same blessing, and the same thank you. Din pruta ke din me'ah. That's what Chazal say. We know if somebody gives a large donation to a synagogue, they'll put his name up. If it's large enough, they might even put his picture up today. It's not an exaggeration. I was in a shul, Beha'alotcha, it's also. I walked into the shul. In the shul, they have a picture of some guy on the front wall. And I went to the rabbi. I said, what is this? Who is that guy? He wasn't even wearing kippah, the guy in the picture. So he says that he left an inheritance for the synagogue, and in the will it said that they should put his picture on the front near the Aron Kodesh. I said, Al pi halakha, you're not allowed to pray here. It says clearly in halakha, you're not allowed to pray opposite a picture because it looks like you're idol worshipping. I said, it would be better to shut the whole synagogue down. But yeah, for the right price, unfortunately Judaism suddenly fades away. And the clarity of halakha doesn't, gets distorted, gets warped. Besides, we mentioned in the past that the Arizal says, if they put your name up for giving a donation, then you already lost 90% of the mitzvah. Right down the tubes. That's the Yetzer Hara's way of getting you to give tzedakah and not having a mitzvah from it. Because at that point, you didn't give tzedakah, you bought yourself honor. You bought fame, it's like you took out a newspaper ad. If you want an ad tomorrow in the New York Times, you could also put yourself an ad, I'm a great guy. Same idea. So here, you put it on the synagogue, I'm a great guy. You bought a newspaper ad. Fundraisers hate when I say this because it ruins their business. What should we do? We have to be honest. We have to be honest. Anyway, he takes these two things upon himself. And when he was in America, exactly the same stories of El Karif. Dollars and quarters and people slamming the door on him and all the humiliation in the world in one. And it's going nowhere. He was on his last day out of the 14 days he designated to be here, and he did not even raise as much money as his plane ticket cost him. That means he didn't even hit the $1,000 mark. The Jew, a Talmid Chacham, was marrying off a daughter. He says to himself, Gamzu Tova, what should he do? It is what it is. He goes to pay Avit before he's going back to the airport empty-handed, at a loss. And now he has to figure out a way to get to the airport. And he doesn't want to take an Uber because that's more money that he doesn't have. It's bad enough that he didn't raise money and he's losing money. Another expense. So he was naive, and I guess he thought that Brooklyn is Bnei Brak. And he just went over to a guy, and I don't say this in a negative way, and there's unlimited chesed in Brooklyn, in every Jewish community. It's amazing. And he randomly goes over to a gentleman and asks him if he knows a way that he can get to JFK that doesn't cost money. This guy realized something's a little bit wrong with that request, so he says, what do you mean? He tells him I'm from Israel, I'm a Meshulach, whatever, and I have to get back for my daughter's wedding, and I didn't really raise any money, so I don't have money to spend $50 now to get to JFK. So I want to know, is there a cheaper way or a free way or something? The guy felt bad for him. So I'll take you. That's a Jew. I'll take you. They finish Ma'ariv, they go into the car, this guy, and the guy tells him, listen, we're going to go out through the Flatbush Avenue exit, and on Flatbush Avenue there's a guy who I know. He's not religious, and he's a hit or miss. He's extremely wealthy. If you catch him on a day that he's in a good mood, you might get a nice amount of money from him. If not, if you get $2, $3, you're lucky. And he might even slam the door on you. So if you don't mind, I'll take you. But I'm warning you in advance. It could go to two extremes and it could end ugly. He says, you know how many doors have slammed in my face in the past 2 weeks? One more is not going to make the difference. That's not what's going to make the difference in life. Take me. So on the way out, they stop over there. It's off of Flatbush Avenue. They were driving off over there. They make the turn. They stop at his big fancy house. He knocks on the door. And the guy doesn't even answer. The maid answers. What do you want? And he's trying with his broken English, barely knows how to say a word. Charity. The maid didn't understand the word. And suddenly he hears a guy screaming in Hebrew. He was inside his house, whatever. Later on he found out that it was this living room. He says, Ma tarotzeh, what do you want? He's not the type to scream back. So he gently said, I'm here for Achnasas Kala. And he said, I'm busy now, but 1 minute. He took out a $5 bill, this guy. This is how sick somebody could be. But the story has a good ending, that's why I'm saying it that way. And he sticks it into his dog's mouth. And he sends the dog to the door. That's a whole new level of insanity. It's a whole new level of insanity. No. The guy bends over, takes the $5 bill out of the dog's mouth, and now he's in a dilemma. Shteyman said you have to give a blessing to whoever gave you money. The dog just gave him $5. What blessing is he giving the dog? This is a dilemma that already happened in Jewish history recently. Not that recent, but whatever, 40 years ago. The Steipler, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, once had a new Baal Tshuva that came into him for a blessing. And he gave him a very warm blessing because he wanted to encourage him. And then he told him he wants also a blessing for his dog. Now the Steipler was a no-nonsense man. A normal guy like that would, I don't even want to say what would happen to him. But the Steipler realized if he's going to yell at him, what are you talking stupidity? He doesn't know better, poor guy. He's going to discourage him from Judaism, so he didn't want to do that. So the Steipler told him a brilliant answer. He said, sure, I want to give a blessing, but in order to give a Misha Berach, you need the name and the mother's name. Get me the dog's mother's name and I'll give a Misha Berach to the dog. That's the way the Steipler solved that one. So Avot says that he decided what he's going to do is he's going to say out loud a blessing that should include the dog and the homeowner all in one. It should be a package deal. He said that they should grow up. Baruch Dayana Emet. They should grow up together and have a good life and everything. And he gave him a warm blessing. He's finishing his blessing, and the homeowner said, wasn't even paying attention to what he was saying. And he said, what'd you just say? And at that point he comes in his flip-flops to the door to talk to her. And he says, I gave you a blessing to you and the dog, whatever. You both did a mitzvah together. Things should be all right. It should work out. Man's best friend. He should stay your friend. No? And when the guy hears this, he grabs, I think it was Ravod himself, he grabs his hand and he tells him, come with me. Now it's getting weird. I didn't come with you. You gave me $5 and a dog. I'm not going with you anyway. He says, I need a favor from you. You have to come with me. This other guy that drove him to this man's house tells the rabbi, whispers to him, he says, this man's not 100%. So you never know. This might be the turn of everything. Go with him. He walks with him 2.5 blocks to another one of these big, large homes. And he's in his flip-flops and shorts and he knocks on the door. And the guy opens the door and he looks puzzled to see him. And not just to see him with a Haredi rabbi. 2 strikes in 1. And he tells him, listen to what this rabbi just told me. That's how he starts the conversation. The rabbi says, what did I just tell you? He says, tell him the blessing you just gave me. So he tells him, listen, I was by his house. I asked him for charity for Achnasat Kala. He sent me $5 with the dog. There's an inyan of Akarat Tov. So I gave him a blessing and I blessed him and the dog. And he looks at the guy and he tells him, you see? There's nothing wrong with having a dog. Even a rabbi blessed him. That's what he tells him. As soon as those words come out of his mouth, the gentleman who they just knocked on his door goes over to the Mr. Flip-Flop, we'll call him, and starts hugging him and kissing him and telling him, I'm sorry, you were right, I was wrong. We got to work out a way that you can forgive me. Come inside. And he brings the rabbi and this guy when he's on his way to the airport into the house with the driver who volunteered from Landos to drive them. Or from wherever it was that they prayed that night. And this is the story that unfolds by the table. These 2 guys, gentleman number 1 has a son who married gentleman number 2's daughter. Gentleman number 2's daughter grew up in a Beit Yaakov. Most girls that grow up in Beit Yaakov are not so exposed to dogs. Because in Beit Yaakov they try to expose you to humans. It's a better idea. Today we wonder why the kids behave like they do. Because it used to be that a mother had 8 kids. So the kids learned from each other how to grow up and how to behave and how to get along. Today a mother has 2 kids, 2 dogs and 3 cats. So a kid learns how to be a dog or a cat. That's what's going on. It's very simple. Yeah, I wish I was joking. I really do. But anyway, his daughter married the other guy's son. And lo aleinu, we should never know, a couple of years after their wedding, everything was going well. And the mother-in-law, meaning the girl's mother, died. This guy, his son was his only child. And he was lonely. Loneliness can kill somebody. So he decided to buy a dog for that reason, keep him busy. Should have company at home. His daughter-in-law was scared of dogs. So she stopped coming to the house. So he called her and said, I'll leave him outside. We'll work it out. I'm scared. I don't want the kids also exposed to this, that. She didn't want to come to the house anymore. He got angry, but he was smart. He said, I'm not going to take it out on her. What's that going to help me? Then my son's going to be upset at me. So he took it out on her father. He went over to his house. They only lived 2.5 blocks apart. And he opened the mouth. Maybe too much of a mouth. Not maybe, for sure. Gave it to him over the head. When he gave it to him over the head, the guy got insulted and said, well, you crazy? My daughter's right. He stuck up for his daughter, obviously. And from then on, it was a fight. This went on for a couple of years. And every so often, they would bump into each other by whatever family events that they both had to attend, and it always erupted into something. Are you allowed to have a dog? Are you not allowed to have a dog? Is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? Is it this? Is it that? So by the way, just for the halakha's sakes, if a dog is potentially dangerous, meaning you could bite or this or that, so then you're not allowed to have al pi halakha, it's an isur d'oraita maybe even. And if a dog is 100% harmless for sure, so then according to the Kabbalah, it brings all the tumah into your house. According to the Nigla, there's no isur. So it's not recommended, but you can't tell somebody you can't have it at that point. Anyway, he says, now that I see that a rabbi from Israel blessed the dog, so it must not be such a bad thing, so I'm going to call my daughter and tell her, and we're going to figure out a way. And I decided enough of this fight that's going on for so long, and we made peace. And now this gentleman number 2 turns to the rabbi and says, if you were the peacemaker, what nobody else was able to do, tell me, what did he send you $5 with the dog for? He says, and I want to know one more thing also. What possessed you to give a blessing to a dog? That's not a normal thing to do. So he says, I didn't exactly give a blessing to a dog. I gave a blessing to the guy. The dog was included, It wasn't specific. It was a general blessing, He says, but still, what crossed your mind? He says, I'll tell you what made me think of it. Because when that dog came to give me the $5, to me that was like the last slap. Not only did I waste 2 weeks and get nowhere, now a dog's giving me money. That's what we got to in life already. I said, from here it can't get any worse. So I was looking for a way to be mechazik myself, to give myself an encouraging word. So this is what I came up with. At that morning, thank you. That morning, Baruch L'chayei Hametim, we could say now. Look at that, 2 blessings in one class. No, he says that morning, I was learning the Daf Yomi. And in the Daf, the Gemara talks about Asur la'adam legadel kelev ra betoch beito. One is not permitted to raise a bad dog in his house. And I was thinking to myself, what's a bad dog? It's either a dog or not a dog. That's it. Bad, good. So really, pshat is, Rashi says, kelev ra is a dangerous dog. Or a dog that barks a lot also. But he says then, this morning, I didn't have, that was the pshat. But I still wanted to know why the Gemara titles it that way. He says, when the dog came to me with the $5, I said, now I got my answer. There's a kelev tov also that gives tzedakah. So that's why I like the pshat. And I decided to give a blessing. And the gentleman says, and what are you raising money for? So he says he's marrying off his child and whatever. He says, and how much money do you need? It says, in the vicinity of $20,000. He says, and how much did you raise? This is about 800. He says, you mean 805? $5 more, right? Don't forget that. No. Tells him, hold on a second. And he looks at his mechutan, it's called in Hebrew, the father of his son-in-law, straight in the eyes. And he says, this man saved us. He saved our kids, saved our grandchildren. We owe it to him. 9 on you, 9 on me. Let's send him with 18,000 right now. And he says, yes. And he went to the airport with $18,000 more. Wow. Comes back to Israel. Lands in Ben Gurion, goes straight to Bnei Brak, straight to Rav Shteinman's house on Rehov Chazon Ish 5, second floor. Knocks on the door, gets into Rav Shteinman, he tells Rav Shteinman this mind-boggling story, and he says, a moifis of the Rebbe, a miracle. You had Ruach HaKodesh, Rabbi. Shteinman was a very humble man. He didn't tolerate when people spoke to him like that. He said, Chas v'shalom, it has nothing to do with that. So he says, what does it have to do with? He says, what do you think? He said, probably that I was nice to people, even though I should have been pretty disgusted by their behavior. He says, that's a good reason. I don't disagree, but I think there's a bigger reason. He says that even when you were traveling, and even when you were in a bad mood because nothing was going your way, and even when you didn't know what to do because you were worried, you're coming back to Israel, it's going to be bad news when you tell your wife, nothing doing. You still didn't skip learning the daf. And Koach HaTorah sent you what you needed. Because Osek b'Torah kol המקיים את התורה מעוני, סופה לקיימה מאושר. One who sticks to the rules and learns Torah, even in his days of poverty, Hashem promises he'll do the same in great wealth. And Barminan, the opposite too. One who doesn't keep the Torah in great wealth, Hashem promises one day he's going to do it in great poverty. And if it won't be in this world, it'll be in the next. So it's a silly thing to mess with. But it's really an amazing story. I shared it Sunday night by some event that I spoke in, but that one didn't make it to our wonderful Biyachad YouTube channel, so I had to repeat it again today for that sake. So Sunday night's event, I'm not here to promote any events or anything, it was already, that's why I could talk about it. Was they called me to speak by someone I spoke a year before. I know nothing about this, but it seems like some wonderful Jews got together and built a mikveh in the Briarwood neighborhood. And a year ago they launched a fundraising campaign, they asked me to come speak, and I told them gladly, and they asked me how much I charge, and I said a cup of water, or Coke, and if you really want to be generous, Red Bull. And he said, what do you mean? Everybody else, 3,600, 5,200, 8,000. I said, yeah, that's what I charge, and I gave it to you as a donation to your mikveh. You're not making a fundraising event to waste the money on paying an entertainer, right? That would be counterproductive to do with charity money. No, and I went to speak there. I said, yeah, without looking at the date. Guy asked me to speak, to build a mikveh, this, that, sounded good. I said, yeah. The Friday before was a Sunday night event. I look at my calendar and I see I'm flying Sunday night at all. I'm going to Israel. It was my uncle's yahrzeit. And I'm like, now what? I cancel? He put posters all over Queens. Then I called him and I said, listen, buddy, I'm speaking by you, but I got to be done. And the people in the room that were involved with the story to help me that day. And I say, thank you, a year later. But now you'll hear what that night did and you'll feel good about yourselves that you were part of it. I told him, I really should cancel on you. But I could borderline make my flight if you promise me that at 8:15 I'm speaking, by 9:15 no matter what I'm done. And I'll have friends that one will take me from the hall, that, we'll figure it out, and boom, to the airport. Otherwise, it's out of the question. I can't. I got to do what I got to do. So he tells me we got a deal. We got a deal. I went there, and I said, I'm going to give myself some extra time. I'm going to cut the speech a little shorter. 9 o'clock, I'm going to end it. Sunday, traffic, June. Got to be careful. It was a flight that meant a lot to me. I go, I speak. Baruch Hashem was, a year later, he called to say thank you, saying it was very successful. I'm happy to be part of a mitzvah. And then they picked me up and I went. And on the way to the airport, I think it was you that took me to the airport then. Pretty sure. It was, I know Avram picked me up from the shul, that's for sure, and I don't remember if you took me to the airport, one of you two took me to the airport, the two tzaddikim. Between you two, somebody took me to the airport. On the way to the airport, an acquaintance of mine who I feel very close to, because I helped him a lot in life and got him to the point of Baruch Hashem, he's happily married and everything for a bunch of years and built him up. And when he started out, he was a 18-year-old heroin addict, which didn't stand much of a chance. So somebody like that, it's your nachat in life. These are your children. In Bnei Brak, families have 10 kids, 12 kids, 18 kids. Hashem gave me the schut that I can't count how many children I have. And if we include the grandchildren, tens of thousands, Baruch Hashem, over the years. Literally. Generations that we saved over the years. Generations and generations. And on the way to the airport, one of this boy, or man, sends me a message. And the message was that he's at a breaking point and I should call him. What's the breaking point? Nobody should ever need to know what this means. He was married at the time for 4.5 years, almost 5, and he has no kids. And they did all the doctors and the this and the treatments and nothing. He says, in that morning, the doctor told him there's no hope. He says, there's not even a doctor, don't spend any more money, you're wasting your time. There is no hope. Obviously, his life was shattered at that point. And I don't remember if I called or I messaged, but one or the other that I'm going to call him soon or whatever it was. And I was a little antsy, I wanted to get to my flight and make sure that I checked in and that I'm okay and what. So I didn't have that much yeshuva dat either way. And the reason was because I had this great plan of finishing at 9 o'clock. But Hashem has a sense of humor. I finished at 9 o'clock and outside in the hallway, there's a mob bombarding me. This one wants a blessing, and this one needs advice, and this one has a daughter that's dating a goy, and this one this, and this one that. And I don't know how to say no to a Jew, so it's like, and 9 becomes 9:15, and my heart starts racing as well. It's a package deal. But I went with Shomel Mitzvah Lo Yeda Davar Ra. Somebody does a mitzvah won't know about it, won't have any harm. No. I end up calling him. I don't remember if it was from the car or from the airport, one or the other. And on the phone, he was in a very, very bad state of mind. Very bad state of mind. What am I supposed to tell him? I had nothing to tell him. What am I going to tell him? Hashem knows best. That's true, but that doesn't help at those times. You have to be a big Bal Emunah. I feel your pain, that's one big lie. A year after I was married, I already had a child. I don't feel his pain. I have no idea what his pain is. I didn't know what to say. I was quiet. He's bawling and I'm quiet. Then I told him, listen, I have one thing to tell you. I'm going to show it to my uncle. I'll pray for you. And he asked me, he says he needs emergency prayers, something like that. I said, send me a text message with your name and your mother's name and your wife's name and her mother's name. I'll pray for you. That's all I could say. And Bli Neder, when I come back, we'll spend time together on that, then we'll see. We'll talk, we'll see what we can do. And if in the meantime you need me, call me anytime. My number stays the same anywhere in the world. When I sat down after checking in, going through security, and I had a few minutes before the flight, it's like the whole day just collapsed at once. And I was just like, okay. And now I'm processing this conversation I just had also. And I said a prayer. And it wasn't a prayer out of being holy and praying. It was a prayer out of the depths of my heart of desperation. Because I really didn't know what to tell this guy. I said, Rebbeinu Shalom, I just went to raise funds for somebody who I don't know, for a place that I don't know the name, for nothing, just because a rabbi that I trust told me that it's reliable and they're building a mikveh and it's a big mitzvah to help. It's a neighborhood that doesn't have a mikveh and they need one. So what do we need a mikveh for? So the Jewish kids should be born in the world in a pure way. They tried to shove me an envelope before I left. I threw it back in their face. I said, I told you this is my donation. I said, honor I also don't get, Baruch Hashem. I have nothing in it. Lo lichvodi v'lo lichvod Beit Abba, zero. Rebbeinu Shalom, I'm asking you for one thing. I helped, Be'ezah Hashem, bring Jewish kids to the world purely. You helped this boy have a child. And I never told him anything. I came back to America. He was already more calm, and we nonchalantly had different conversations. And then we already started speaking about adoption options, and we were busy with that for a while. On my way to speak exactly 1 year later on a Hebrew date, this boy calls me up. No, texts me, sorry. And I look at my message, and he sends me a message. You won't believe it. We can take off adoption off the table. My wife is pregnant naturally. We're having a baby boy. That's called Zorei Tzedakot. Some people in Queens had to be Zorei Tzedakah. Matzmiach Yeshuot, to bring a Yeshua for a guy somewhere in Jersey. Wild. Simply wild. That's because everything in this world has an exact cheshbon, even though most of the time we don't see it and don't understand it. But there's an exact cheshbon in everything in the world. There's nothing in the world that happens for no reason. And if Hashem decided to make something happen in a certain way, obviously, hakol tova. There's a reason behind it, and you get amazing results. You make the right choice, and Hashem gives you the right result. And I want to end off with a thought which fits my regular theme, because I think it has to be emphasized every week again. And each time we try to do it in a different way. There is a Gemara. The Gemara is Masechet Ketubot Daf Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Bet. The Gemara says, Tov hamalbin shinayim lachavero yoter mimashkehu chalav. If one fed a hungry person, and a different person fed a hungry soul, otherwise known as made him smile, got a smile out of a Jew, the one who caused somebody else to smile is greater in heaven than the one who fed the starving man. I think that says it all, no? The Gemara says where a person's focus should be, to bring a smile to every Jew's face at all times. This Gemara is very known, I think everybody here knew it before, but it's not just theoretical. There are practical implications. Here's one of the practical implications. One of the most common parenting questions asked is, if I give my kid anything he wants, he's going to grow up a spoiled brat, he'll never know how to deal with life. If I don't give him things, A, the street might give it to him and I might lose my child, and that's not an exaggeration. And B, sometimes it causes unnecessary friction and it's just so much easier to just give in. So, how do I know if I could put my foot down and say no? It's one of the most common parenting questions that exist. There are many answers that all conclude the same conclusion. But I'm going to give you a twist on the same conclusion. When the Rebbe, the Rayatz from Lubavitch, Zechet Tzadik Livachas Chutei Yagen Aleinu, came to the shores of the United States, tens and tens of years ago, and America was a spiritually desolate country. There were some Talmidei, but it was a handful. Today we don't even understand what that means. You walk in Queens, every street corner is a shul. Some street corners have two shuls, one on each side. Normally the second one's a break off from the first one. Sooner or later all four corners are going to have, because they will also have to break off, right? Kaptzeinu yachad me'arba kanfot haaretz. Right? We pray that every day. Kaptzeinu yachad me'arba kanfot haaretz. Hashem. So of course the pshat is that we daven to Hashem, that the Shofarov, Eliyahu Navi, HaMelech HaMashiach should come, and Hashem will gather everybody into Eretz Yisrael, al kanfei nesharim esah etchem. But the Zohar Kadosh says, how do you get Mashiach? Chazal say, the Gemara says, the Yisrael should keep 2 Shabbatot. The Zohar adds on something else. To get all the Jews to keep 2 Shabbats, it's almost impossible. So the Zohar says a simple solution. If there'll be Knishta Chada, one synagogue, that'll have pure unity, Mashiach will come. And if Mashiach didn't come in 1,950 somewhat years, that means we still can't find 10 Jews to get along with each other. And that's a very painful, frightening thought. Knishta Chada, one synagogue. That's all it takes. So I said, of course there's not a pshat, this is al derech halatzah. That's what we pray every day in shul. We're in shul, but in shul this guy doesn't get along with him and he's arguing with him. So we daven to Hashem, v'kabtzeinu yachad me'arba kanfot haaretz. Let's gather all the break-offs together and make it one shul. A, it'll save a lot of wasted Jewish money. And B, it'll bring Mashiach, because there'll be a knishta chada that'll actually get along with each other. No, the Rayatz comes to America and starts building his version of Torah, whatever he could do for Torah. And then he goes on this campaign of trying to convince others to help him in his mission, to spread Torah. Today, in Chabad, they call it shluchim, not today, for many, many years. And it's really amazing what they do. They're all over the world. And I'm not here to give plugs to anybody. I'm here to make a point. I'm saying that as a student of Rav Shach that grew up on Rav Shach's lap. Because the machloket of Rav Shach and Chabad was a machloket l'shem shamayim that we don't understand. And today, Chabad around the world, I'm not talking about those who believe that somebody who's dead is coming back alive. Those people because of al pi halacha. But the majority that doesn't believe that nonsense, it's unbelievable. Anywhere in the world you go. They say wherever you go in the world you find Coca-Cola and Chabad. Honestly, I found places that had Chabad and didn't even have Coca-Cola. And I'm not exaggerating. No, he started sending out people, but he wanted them to do the job right. You don't send the worker without telling him what to do, right? So if you send a messenger, you got to teach him. One day, one of these people that was going to go out to be a rabbi somewhere comes to him and he says, Rebbe, I'm going to a community and there's a lot of Jews, but there's no Judaism. How do I deal with the people? Should I give it to them over the head? Should I threaten them? Should I yell at them? Should I tell them that they're doing the worst sins in the world and they're going to hell on a one-way ticket? What should I tell them? And the Rebbe says, "Was bist du meshige? Are you crazy? What's that going to do? They're going to run away and never come back." So he says, so what should I do? I shouldn't say anything? I should just ignore? Play along? Play along? So he says, no, chas v'shalom. That's not the goal. The goal is to make a difference. He says, so how do you not tell them that what they're doing is wrong, but still make a difference? How does that work? So the Rayatz told him an unbelievable thing. He said, down the block there's a place that's a Turkish bath. He says, you ever went to the Turkish bath? He said, yeah. He said, what's there? He said, you go into a room, it's hot, steam, body warms up, whatever. And then there's some gig going on there with leaves. Havit vela barich. Like, Hosha'ana Rabbah. Live every night of the week. He says, and not only aren't you upset, you pay for it. And you give the guy a tip at the end. I feel so good. So let me ask you a question. If you went into shul for shacharit tomorrow morning and somebody came in with some leaves and started banging you on the head, what would happen? He might get punched back, right? It's not going to end good. Thrown out of the shul for sure he'll be. He said, what's the difference? Last night you went to the Turkish bath and you paid for them to do it. And today the guy's doing it for free, and instead of saying thank you, you're throwing him out of shul. He says, and don't tell me respect for the shul. That's a cheap way out. He says, what's the real difference? So you know what the real difference is? In one place, you went in, and it was hot, and there was steam, and it warmed you up, and it loosened your muscles and your body. And now this is the finishing touch that you should walk out feeling refreshed. In the other place, it's early in the morning, and it's cold, and you're tired and cranky, and you walked in because you have to walk in as a Jew to put on tefillin and pray shacharit. And now somebody hitting you is going to end very ugly. And the Rayatz told him, you want to know how to succeed? Go to the community and warm them up and shower them with all the warmth and the love in the world. Malbin shinayim lachavero. Go be a malbin shinayim lachavero. And then when you have to put your foot down and hit them a little bit, you'll get away with that too. They'll listen to you. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's how you get results. And that's the answer to the parenting question. If you're a parent, you can tell your kid what to do. Meaning you have unlimited patience and time for your children. They're your top priority in life. You shower them with warm and love nonstop. All they know from you is smiles and hugs and kisses and compliments and how amazing they are. So then when you have to put your foot down, you could do it and get away with it. Not only get away with it, they'll accept it with so much love, they'll tell you thank you. But if you didn't do the warm part, so now you think you're macho man. What's wrong with you? You're breaking a broken kid already? He's broken that he's growing up an orphan in his parents' life. He has living parents, and al pi halacha he's an orphan. And I'm not exaggerating. It's literal. Hafla v'afela. Hafla v'afela. No, I think there's a great lesson for that. And I want to end off on the same theme, but with a very personal touch. There's a parasha in the Torah, Vegla Arufa, the halachot of Vegla Arufa. Of course, we're not going to go into all the details. We're out of time. The punchline is, somebody was in a city and he left, and he died somewhere between cities, and they measure which city was closer, and it's the liability of the sages of that city as if the sin was on them. And there's all different laws of what they have to do. There's a Gemara Masechet Sotah that discusses what the pasuk says. They say a prayer, besides this Eglah Rufa. Yadeinu lo shafchut adam hazeh, our hands didn't spill this blood. And it goes on the prayer, I'm skipping, and this is Kaper la'amcha Yisrael, forgive the Jewish nation. Rashi writes in the name of the Gemara Sota Mem Hei Amud Bet, what had to happen over here? What do they need a kapara for? They didn't kill him. What's going on? What's the whole mitzvah? What's the story here? So Rashi writes, Lo reinu, we didn't see him, upatrunu, and let him go, meaning sent him off. Belo mizonot, we didn't give him a doggy bag of food to go. Ubelo levaya, and we didn't escort him out of the city. And therefore, as a result of not giving him food to go and not escorting him out of the city, that's why he died, and that's why it's our liability, and that's why we have to do a Eglah Rufa and get a kapara. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand that? Of course, if Rashi says it, and the Gemara says it makes sense. But how do we understand it? What does one have to do with the other? Guy comes with a gun, a terrorist comes with a gun to shoot an Israeli soldier. He says, don't shoot me, I have pizza. Is that going to help? I don't think so, right? A cold-blooded murderer killed somebody. And if he would have had a doggy bag, so it would have helped? Doesn't make a difference. Abisal Salanter Zitzal, the founder and the leader of Tnuat HaMusal, Zchuto Yagen Aleinu, says a mind-boggling shot in this Rashi and Gemara, and the whole Parashat of Eglah Rufa. That's the way he learns up the Parashat of Eglah Rufa. Which, number one, I want you to take this lesson home with you, and then I'm going to say my personal twist to it. Abisal Salanter says, when a murderer comes to kill somebody, in some cases a person's saved. How? If he's alert enough and has enough energy, physically and emotionally, he succeeds to escape, or to fight the guy, one or the other. Abisal Salanter said, Hashem's telling the Chachamim, if you would have sent this guy off with a doggy bag and a hug, that would have given him the strength to fight off his killer. And the fact that you didn't hold his hand when he was leaving town, he didn't have the emotional energy to deal with the situation that he was in. And that's why he died. And that's why it's your responsibility. This pshat's unbelievable. And I say, fast forwarding to today, on a daily basis, if we would give our Jewish boys and girls the love and the hand and the encouragement that they need throughout their tough years, we would never have an overdose again. Because it wouldn't have to come to that. We're busy opening centers and rehabs and this and that. Let's solve the problem from the core. So the next generation, or in a year from now, we don't have more of these stories. A hug saves a life. Because it gives somebody, in the toughest time, the energy that they need to fight one more day. And somebody once told me, okay, but it's only one more day, and then what? I said, but every day he's going to get a hug from another Jew, and that'll keep him till 120. Besides, he'll heal way before that, and it'll be fine. I'm not downplaying the need for rehab. I'm just explaining the importance of being supportive. And on a very personal note, I want to say thank you. The last 10 days in my family and I's life have been the hardest 10 days of our life by far. By far. Due to the passing of our beloved father, friend, and Rebbe. And I say it in that order because that was the order that he used to say it. And it was very tough. It is very tough. Life will, hopefully one day we'll get our strength back, but life's not the same, that's for sure. And the amount of times that you pick up the phone and you automatically want to dial your Rebbe because you're used to calling him for every question, every blessing, and every advice, and there's nobody to call. It's like a knife to the heart every time, again and again and again and again. It's like a never-ending suffering. And the outpour of love and support, including from strangers that know me through YouTube, that never met me, that I don't know their names, I don't have their numbers, that my family and I received in the past 10 days, is definitely one of the great contributing factors to what kept us through our hard times. And for that I feel indebted, and a huge hakarat tov. And I say thank you, but my greatest thank you is to give you a birkat hedyot, a simple man's blessing, that you should never know what it means to lose a loved one in your life. Ruchim to you, Hashem. All the best. Shabbat Shalom.